I can still remember the exact moment it hit me, how far we drifted apart. It was late one evening, and we were sitting on the couch, watching a movie. The room was quiet, just the faint sound of dialogue from the screen and the hum of the air conditioner filling the silence. He sat only a foot away from me, close enough that I could feel his warmth, close enough that I could reach out and touch him. So I did. I leaned a little closer, heart racing with a mixture of hope and hesitation, and I tilted my face toward his. I just wanted a kiss, something so small, so natural, something that used to come effortlessly between us. But as soon as I moved in, he pulled away. Not angrily. Not dramatically. Just, casually, like it was nothing. Like my lips hadn't even been reaching for his. And in that split second, I felt it, a kind of rejection that cut deeper than words ever could. It's been 6 months since he kissed me. 6 months since his lips touched mine. 6 months since I felt that spark of connection we once couldn't go a day without sharing. And it's not just the kiss that's missing. It's the way he used to look at me like I was his whole world. It's the casual touches in the kitchen, the playful nudge when I laughed too hard, the comfort of knowing that no matter what happened during the day, his affection would be waiting for me at night. Now, we live together like strangers. 2 people sharing a roof, sharing bills, sharing space, but not sharing each other anymore. And the silence between us. It's deafening. People talk about heartbreak like it comes in one big moment, finding a text on his phone, catching someone cheating, hearing the words, "I don't love you anymore." But that's not what this is. This is slower. Quieter. It's like watching something precious wither in your hands, and no matter how tightly you try to hold on, it slips through your fingers anyway. And here's the part that eats me alive. I know exactly when it started. I know the exact sentence that flipped a switch and set us on this path. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't a betrayal. It wasn't even supposed to be serious. It was just one moment, one comment I made, one truth I spoke, that I thought would bring us closer, but instead, it pushed him so far away that I don't know if I'll ever get him back. It started the night I told him that when he slapped my butt, I felt objectified. When I think back to how it all began, it almost feels like I'm remembering a different lifetime. We met at a friend's birthday party, one of those crowded, noisy nights where music drowns out half the conversations and everyone seems to be laughing too loudly. I wasn't looking for anything that night. I wasn't dressed to impress, I wasn't scanning the room for someone to talk to. But somehow, he found me anyway. He was magnetic in a way I couldn't ignore. The kind of guy who could walk into a room and instantly make it lighter, funnier, more alive. He cracked a joke within minutes of introducing himself, and I laughed so hard I remember covering my mouth to hide it. From that night on, we were inseparable. In the beginning, everything was effortless. We'd stay up too late talking about nothing, sharing our deepest secrets like we'd known each other forever. He had this boyish charm, playful, a little immature at times, but always endearing. He'd steal fries off my plate when we went out to eat. He'd tickle me just to see me squirm. He had this way of making even ordinary days feel like an adventure. And God, did I love him for it. But looking back now, I realize there were little things, small moments, that I brushed aside. Jokes that sometimes went too far. Teasing that stung more than it should have. Playful touches that weren't always as light-hearted as they seemed. Like the way he'd slap my butt when I walked past him in the kitchen, grinning like it was just the most normal thing in the world. At first, I laughed it off. It felt silly, harmless, like a private game between us. And in a way, it was. But there were times, just tiny flashes, where it didn't feel funny. It felt different. Like I wasn't being seen as me anymore, but as something to play with, something to grab at. Still, I never said anything. I told myself I was being too sensitive, that it was just his way of showing affection. Because that was the thing about him, he didn't mean harm. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't disrespectful in the way strangers on the street could be. He was just being him, playful, flirty, light-hearted. And I loved that about him. But part of me wanted something deeper, something more mindful. I wanted to feel desired and respected, loved not just as a body but as a person. He never realized there was a difference. To him, it was all the same. That was the first crack. So small at the time, barely noticeable. But a crack, nonetheless. It happened on an ordinary night, the kind where nothing feels remarkable until suddenly everything changes. We were in the kitchen, making dinner together like we always did. I was at the counter, chopping vegetables, humming to myself. He walked past me to grab something from the fridge, and on his way by, his hand came down with a playful smack on my butt. Normally, I would have rolled my eyes, maybe laughed, maybe swatted him away. But that night, I didn't. I don't know why it hit me differently this time. Maybe it was the way I'd been feeling that week, exhausted, invisible, like I was carrying the weight of everything and still expected to smile. Maybe it was just the accumulation of all the little times before. But instead of brushing it off, the words slipped out of my mouth before I could stop them. I feel objectified when you do that. The knife paused mid-air. He froze, standing there with the fridge door still open. For a long moment, there was nothing, no sound, no movement, just the heavy weight of what I'd said hanging between us. Finally, he let out a short, awkward laugh, the kind that wasn't really laughter at all. "Babe, I didn't mean it like that." I looked at him, my heart pounding. "I know you didn't mean it like that. But that's how it makes me feel." His smile faltered. He closed the fridge door, avoiding my eyes. "Okay," he muttered, his voice clipped, defensive. Then he grabbed a glass of water and left the room. And just like that, something shifted. At first, I felt relief. Relief that I had finally said it out loud, finally drawn a line I'd been too scared to draw before. For once, I had spoken up for myself. But almost immediately, another feeling washed over me, regret. Because instead of opening a conversation, my words had built a wall. The days that followed felt different. His kisses became quicker, almost perfunctory. His hands, once so familiar and easy with me, suddenly felt hesitant, calculated, like he was second-guessing every move. And then, slowly, even those small gestures began to fade altogether. I told myself it was nothing, that he just needed time to process. That we'd talk about it again when things felt calmer. But we didn't. Instead, the silence stretched on, growing heavier with each passing day. I had spoken my truth, and in doing so, I'd watched something fragile inside him retreat. And I couldn't shake the sinking feeling that I had broken something I didn't know how to fix. The silence didn't happen all at once. It crept in slowly, quietly, like fog rolling over a city at night. At first, it was small things, kisses that felt rushed, hugs that didn't linger. He'd pull away a little sooner than he used to. He'd roll over in bed instead of curling up against me. But soon those small things became the new normal. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and before I realized it, 6 months had passed without a single real kiss. Not one. I tried to convince myself it wasn't a big deal. That couples go through phases, that passion ebbs and flows. But deep down, I felt the truth gnawing at me, this wasn't just a phase. This was a rupture. And the worst part? I started wondering if it was my fault. Every night, I lay awake replaying that moment in the kitchen, the words spilling out of my mouth. "I feel objectified when you do that." Over and over, I asked myself, was I too harsh? Too sensitive? Should I have just laughed and let it go? Was I making a mountain out of something small? Meanwhile, he pulled further away. He avoided my eyes when we talked. His hand stayed at his sides instead of reaching for me. Even in bed, he started sleeping turned away from me, his back a solid wall between us. I would stare at his shoulders in the dark, aching to touch him, to close the gap, but pride, or maybe fear, kept me frozen. Because if I reached out and he didn't respond, I wasn't sure I could handle that kind of rejection. That's when I realized this wasn't about a single butt slap. It wasn't even about feeling objectified. It was about something much deeper, about respect, communication, and how fragile intimacy really is. I wanted him to see me as more than just a body. I wanted to feel cherished, not just desired. But when I finally spoke that truth, he didn't hear what I was trying to say. He only heard rejection. And instead of asking me what I meant, instead of trying to understand, he shut down. The space between us grew wider with each unspoken word, each missed opportunity to reach for each other. And I found myself caught in this unbearable tension. I missed him so much it hurt, but I couldn't bring myself to beg for affection. Because love that has to be begged for doesn't feel like love at all. So I stayed silent. And so did he. And in that silence, our love began to wither. 6 months. That's how long it took before I finally broke. I couldn't keep pretending everything was normal. I couldn't keep living with a man I loved while feeling like a stranger in my own home. One night, after yet another dinner eaten in silence and another evening spent sitting side by side like roommates instead of lovers, I snapped. I turned off the TV, my heart pounding so hard it made my chest ache. He glanced at me, confused, remote still in his hand. And then the words tumbled out, raw and desperate, "Why don't you kiss me anymore?" For a long moment, he just stared at me. His mouth opened, then closed again, like he was searching for words that refused to come. I almost filled the silence myself, almost backpedaled, almost laughed it off like it was a joke. But I didn't. I just sat there, waiting, tears already burning my eyes. Finally, he exhaled. A sound so heavy, it was like he'd been carrying it for months. "Because," he said quietly, "you made me feel like a creep." I blinked, stunned. "What?" "That night in the kitchen," he continued, his voice flat but trembling at the edges. "When you said I was objectifying you. I know you didn't scream, I know you didn't fight, but do you have any idea how that sounded to me? Like I was harassing you. Like my touches weren't welcome. Like I disgusted you." I shook my head, words stumbling out. No, that's not what I meant at all. I wasn't saying I didn't want you. I was saying I wanted more than just, "I know what you said," he cut me off. "And since that night, I haven't known how to touch you without second-guessing myself. Every time I thought about kissing you, I kept hearing your voice, telling me I was objectifying you. I didn't want to risk crossing a line again. So I stopped. I thought I was respecting you." His words hit me like a knife twisting in my chest. All this time, I thought he was punishing me with silence. I thought he had withdrawn because he didn't want me anymore. But in reality, he had been retreating because he didn't want to hurt me again. Tears spilled down my face. "I never meant it like that," I whispered. "I never meant to push you away. I just wanted to feel valued. I wanted to feel like you saw me, not just my body." He finally looked at me then, really looked, and his eyes were wet too. "And I just wanted to show you I loved you. That was my way. Stupid, maybe, but I thought it made you feel wanted. I didn't know it was hurting you." We sat there in silence, both of us crying quietly, the weight of 6 months of distance pressing down on us. And in that silence, I realized the awful truth. It had never really been about the butt slap. It wasn't even about sex. It was about how fragile love can be when words are misunderstood and never clarified. One comment, one misinterpretation, had unraveled everything we'd built together. I reached for his hand. He hesitated for a moment, then let me hold it. His palm was warm but stiff, like he didn't know if he was allowed to relax into me anymore. That hesitation shattered me more than any argument ever could. In that moment, I understood something I'd never forget: intimacy isn't destroyed by big betrayals alone. Sometimes, it crumbles quietly, piece by piece, through silence, pride, and fear. Through the things we don't say. And now, 6 months later, here we were, two people still in love, but separated by one unspoken misunderstanding that had grown into a canyon between us. Looking back now, I can't stop replaying it in my head. One sentence. Just one. I feel objectified when you do that. That's all it took to unravel 6 years of closeness, 6 years of comfort, 6 years of knowing each other's every little habit. I regret not explaining myself sooner. I regret not sitting him down that very night and saying, "I love you. I want you. But I also want to feel respected." Instead, I stayed quiet. I let the silence grow. And in that silence, he assumed the worst, that I didn't want him at all. It's haunting, isn't it? How something so small, something meant to bring honesty and understanding, can instead plant a seed of doubt that slowly chokes everything it touches. We always imagine love ends with something dramatic, a betrayal, a fight, someone walking out the door. But sometimes, it ends in whispers. In misunderstandings. In silence. And what hurts the most is realizing that we both thought we were protecting each other. I thought I was protecting myself by holding back, by not begging for affection. He thought he was protecting me by pulling away, by not touching me in a way that might hurt me again. But in trying to protect each other, we destroyed the very thing we were trying to save. The truth is, love isn't just about passion. It isn't just about kisses and laughter and inside jokes. It's about delicate communication. About being brave enough to speak clearly, even when your voice shakes. About clarifying, not assuming. Because one unhealed wound, no matter how small, can grow into a canyon that swallows everything. As for us, I don't know where we go from here. I wish I could give you a neat ending, tell you that we kissed and made up, that everything went back to the way it was. Or maybe tell you that I walked away, stronger, wiser, ready to start over. But the truth is less tidy. The truth is, we're still here, two people sitting side by side, trying to figure out if love is enough to bridge the silence we let grow for too long. And maybe that's the real lesson. Not every story wraps up neatly. Not every love has a clear ending. Sometimes, it just leaves you with questions. So let me leave you with one too. If someone you loved misunderstood your words, if one small moment created a distance that felt impossible to cross, would you fight to fix it, or would you let silence destroy everything?